Hello there, great person, and welcome back to Let's Look at some Bleach content and let's learn something about the characters and their motives and their ideas. Today we're doing Nödt because it's almost Halloween, it's Spooktober, and this is a perfect thing to do during my Spooktober specials. So, if you don't know, I am currently doing some Spooktober specials until the normal content will resume coming Wednesday with Wheel of Time and stuff, but yeah, we're gonna dive into some scary stuff currently, and what is more scary than fear itself? So today we're gonna discuss a bit about Esnert, and we are also gonna discuss a bit about what psychology and even neurology says about fear, and also how these themes are shown and established with Esnert in the manga or in the anime. And yeah, let's just get going. And as always, consider liking, subscribing if you like the content and share this around. But without further ado, let's dive into Esnert, Sternritter F, as I would say in German. So the first thing I want to talk about is, of course, Esnert's appearance, which is like not this, because this is his vollständig, but we have a very eerie appearance when he is not in vollständig as well. He basically is this black-haired man, slender man. He almost looks a bit like a female as well. I've seen many people think that he's a female before he started speaking. And he's got these spikes and the mouth covered, and he's got these dead eyes. So his pupils are very small. You can't really see where he's looking. And what comes to mind with him is, of course, an Onryo. Onryos are, in Japanese mythology, as far as I know, the vengeful spirits. And they're a folktale that's still, yeah, shared in amongst Japanese people, as far as I know. And basically, it's these people that come back from the grave, spirits, vengeful spirits, and they will hunt you down and might harm you or people. And the most known ones are probably Kayako and Kayako Saeki and Samara. And I don't know the Japanese name of Samara, but yeah. Anyway, so this already means like he's a very scary dude. Like there's this theme of a deep-rooted fear with him. And I think Kubo probably chose this design because he thought of an Onryo. I think normally they're female, but they can also be male. So as an Onryo is like a very core of Japanese culture when it comes to fear. Like it's a very deep-seated idea in their culture. I think it's very brilliant that Asnod looks like one and exudes the scary Onryo-ness. And if you know me, you know that Onryos are basically like the scariest monsters I know. Like I hate them so much.
Oh, fuck, go away! Oh my god, this is, oh, fuck.
I think,
Oh god, go away! Oh, you stupid Onryo bitch face! That's why I hate Onryos!
and for me, that makes Esnod a very eerie man. The name is very interesting because there's the and the ö in his name. No one ever pronounces that, but if you would pronounce that correctly, it would probably be as nöt and not as not. Like many people say as not, but it's probably as nöt because of the dots above the letters. And yeah, that's all about his basic appearance. Yeah, his Quincy weapon, we don't know what his Heiligbogen is. It might be the things he's got on the wrist or his mouth, like the spikes, that might actually be his Heiligbogen. But yeah, perhaps not, because it is not made of reishi. So he's having these thorns. Perhaps the thorns are both his bow and his arrow, but the thorns are definitely his Quincy arrows. So again, the theme of something like piercing you, something painful, something you might be afraid of. And all in all, his basic design is very well fitting and very intriguing. Like I remember when the chapters came out and he was revealed, like he next to Bambietta and Robert were like the two standout designs, I think. And I think he was the most standout design. Like in the forums, everyone talked about him We didn't know if he was male or female then either, so there were debates about that. But basically, his design is very striking, and he's also one of my favorite Sternritters. I think he's my third favorite one because I just love the idea of fear and the idea of terror he instills in people.
何者だどこにいる
怖い。僕の恐怖は陛下に叱られることだけ。
So what I also want to talk about is, of course, the voice acting. The voice acting for Asnod was probably the best I've ever seen in anime. Like the voices the voice actor went through are so eerie and lurking, and you get the feeling of this lurking predator that's around you somewhere, and there's uncertainty and potential danger in him. And I just love how everything worked among him. And I think he's actually next to the extended Squad Zero battles. He's my favorite part of the anime. Like, he's so brilliantly done, and I would have never guessed that they would create an Asnod on the screen that's this terrifying and haunting. And I'm very glad they did. So now we come to the real thing about him, of course. The thing he's basically known for, it's his letter, his Schrift. So he was given the letter F, which stands for fear, of course. Although I think it's actually never directly stated in the manga that it's fear, but I mean, of course it's fear. And as Nödt, it uses fear to fight his opponents. So first things I noticed is like his blood defense is very high. So he needs that because, like, if people attack him because of something I will talk about later, he of course has to have a very high defense. It did not help him against Rukia's Bankai in the end, but it helped him against Senbon Sakura petals. Like, his eyes defended against them. Like, the blue like shielded him against the petals, and I think that's a very cool detail. But the fear, of course, is something he uses, and it's a very, very deep psychological and neurological construct, of course. And it's like the main thing I want to talk about today, after all the background things I mentioned earlier. But fear basically is something we know a lot about in psychology and neurology, and that's actually pretty cool. There are many things you can learn from research on it, and I want to talk to you about some things in the context of Asnod that we know. So the first thing I really, really like is when we start Asnod's battle against Byakuya. Byakuya is hit by the thorn, so the fear is inside him. And the first thing that happens is he gets this unease and uncertainty. And Asnod like talks about things that are uncertain, like, what if I don't block? What if I swing my sword the wrong direction? Like, he starts this dialogue of doubt. And I actually like that a lot because you might know I love Lovecraft, and the fear of the unknown and of something you don't understand is basically one of the primal things you are afraid of. And this kind of refers to that a bit, like, because normally you would know how to fight. Byakuya normally knows how to fight. He knows how things go, but through the fear, there is this doubt in his mind, and it starts creeping up. And this is basically the fear of the unknown, the uncertainty that suddenly appears that he is not used to. And Byakuya is actually pretty taken aback by that, and we see him lose his cool more and more. Like, first he thinks it's like it's something cool running down his hands or spine or something. I don't remember the details, but it's basically his body is reacting with chemicals and starts bringing him into this state of anxiety, of arousal, in the sense that he's like very prone to stimuli from the outside, and he has heightened senses a bit as well. And Byakuya is really like in this state of stress, and the anxiety as Nödt instills in him is exactly this one first. It's this fear of the unknown, this fear of uncertainty that like this, like, you don't know what's going on anymore completely, and that's the first thing he does, and I love that. So that's a very, very primal thing. So then we get a bit further, and Byakuya thinks about his fears when it is revealed that fear is that which Asnod uses to attack him. And Byakuya thinks about fears, and he's like, "Yeah, I've conquered my fears." And what does he mean by that? So there's a type of fear that's like very cognitive. So it's if you would if you would imagine your mind like a structure, like a building. So the conscious fear is the one on top, and the primal fear is the one on the bottom. We get to the primal fear a bit later, but basically Byakuya says, "Okay, I have there is fear from doubts. I know these, like the doubts Esnod instilled in him. I know these doubts. I've conquered them long ago, and I remember how I conquered them. So they are not a problem anymore." And he thinks he's beaten the power. So the conscious fear is like this fear based on rationality. Like you would be afraid of knives, perhaps a bit, like or weary of knives because you know they can cut you. You are probably afraid of wires because they can like end you. Like it's like this. Okay, you know this has the potential of instilling great pain or even the end of your life. And that is like fear that is built from experiences, from things you know, from things you learned. And that is actually only a surface level fear in a way. Like it still can define you. It can still like seep into your character, so to speak, and still like bleed down into your primal fear and link to that. But mostly it's easier to overcome because it might just be enough to like reason and to think, yeah, okay, didn't touch the wire, didn't end me, so it's okay. Like I know there's danger, but I'm not afraid of it anymore because I know how to handle it. I've gone used to this. And with that, you like conquer the state of uncertainty you might be in when you like if there's like let's say there's a live wire next to you, you know it's live wire. You're like, okay, this is dangerous. Like there's this eerie thing in your head, but you get used to it, and then you know, okay, just don't touch it. I can go this close, and you know, you get used to it, and the fear is conquered in a way here. That is the first fear Byakuya also thinks of, I think. Like it's the thing he is like, yeah, I've conquered this. Like this is something that I was afraid of, but I've gotten used to it. And I just have to remember that I'm used to it and then it's fine. Um, so I think that's the first thing, but it's not what Asnod is doing, of course. And that is the brilliant stuff, and I really like it. So I wanted to talk about the learning of fear, though. So if there's something you are afraid of, like if there's a situation you get into and there's something happening to you that you are afraid of, like for example, when I was very little, I think I was 4 years old or so, there was this like big German Shepherd who jumped out of a bush at me, and from that I was like, oh God, what is this? Like I was afraid of dogs for like 5 to 6 years or something, or like even 10 years. So it was something like suddenly something appeared, and I started to be afraid, and I learned that. So there are fears that you learn. And these are also these fears Byakuya talks about, I think, on the surface, like fear you learn from experience. And a bit about learning. So, what does that mean you learn a fear? What does that mean in your body? So, if you learn something, it's basically your neurons get strengthened, and connections in your brain get strengthened. And with fear, it is even a bit worse. So, fear is mitigated by the amygdalas. And this is a very rough telling of it. So there's a bit more detail if you want to read up on that. So it's a very rough story I tell you, so to speak. But it's basically if there's something scary happening to you, in that situation, your amygdala grows. So it gets more prone to push some hormones into you that make you like anxious and stuff. So interestingly, that never goes away though. So if you're afraid of something once and your amygdala grows because of that, that's like always there. Like you can almost never make it shrink again. So that also means like the more anxieties you face and the more anxiety hammers into your brain, the more like the amygdala grows and the more anxious you get as a whole. And that is a very, very bad thing. And that can happen to people. And it's basically like this devil's cycle of anxiety, inducing more anxiety. And in the end, you just like shut in your room, hope that nothing ends you, gets you. And yeah, like very bad stuff, very bad stuff. And that is also something like a learned fear. So the more scary situations you're in, the bigger your amygdala grows, and it grows from you being uncertain, from you facing a danger, and it just like starts to make you a weaker person, so to speak. And the method of countering this, of course, is, and this is used in phobia therapy, it's confronting your fears. And it is incrementally confronting your fears. So let's say you were afraid of a dog. Let's say I was afraid of a dog. So first I will perhaps go and read up on dogs a bit. Like I will get pictures of dogs and I see if they make me afraid. If they don't, like I can perhaps get to see videos of dogs. And if the pictures already make me afraid, like I have to stare at them for as long as I can, and then I will put them away and take them back again. So and you advance towards your fear step by step by step by step, and in the end you get used to it, and other regions of your brain get stronger and can inhibit the amygdala. So you can never unlearn fear. Like you can I think psychologists would say you can never be less afraid, you can just be more courageous, and that's actually a very wise thing to say here. And that's basically how it works. And how do we know this? Perhaps a little fun fact about learning. How do we know these things happen? So basically, we have done research on how the brain works, how the brain grows through learning, and fear is only learning in this case as well. So basically, what they did is they took this slug. It's called aplusia, I think. It's a very small slug. It has like 25,000 neurons, so you can monitor them pretty well. And it hates light, so it goes away from light. And what they did was like they shone light to its right side, and it just goes like left all the time. And in the end, you have created a slug that just goes in circles because it always goes left, because the brain area that is responsible for like leftward movement was so big and strong connected that it like overrode the right one, and like it just went in a circle. I mean, that's how you figure it out, and that's how you know that your brain like grows, the neurons grow, and the connections grow. But that is the fear you learn, and that is the fear again Byakuya thinks as Nödt is using here. But that is not all the fear there is. And there is also another kind of fear, and that's a primal fear. What is primal fear? If we go back to the fear building or the building of your personality, again, like it's the basement, like it's the thing you are built on, and there are actually in your behavior coded very deeply into your behavior reactions to certain stimuli that will make you afraid. Like for example, you can take rats, and if you take a rat that has grown up in a lab, never seen the outside, never seen other animals, and you take a cat hair, put it in the cage, it just runs away from it. Like it's basic stimulus. And I think the most powerful ones are like smells. Like smells can make you afraid a lot because it's a very primal circuit, but also some shapes can. Like I think a stick can make you afraid because you think it's a snake. Like that's a classical one, fear of snakes. And it's not even something that goes through your consciousness. Like it's just a very basic primal reaction pattern you will start to run through in your brain. And you won't even notice it. Like you will just react. And it is something you cannot counter with consciousness. Like because it happens too quickly. It's like the same if you put your hand on a plate on an oven, like you immediately put it back because you are hurt. Like it's exactly this thing. Like it doesn't go through your higher brain processes. So these kinds of fear are very primal. Like this is what you would call primal fears. And these primal fears are actually in your brain very, very deeply rooted. And they're like in brains down like millennia. So like very early on in evolution, it was just a mechanism that made you survive. And I don't know, you might even argue that the snail I talked about, was afraid of the light. Like it wasn't a purpose, it just didn't like it. But let's say it was afraid. So these defense mechanisms that we have already been in us when we were invertebrate. And we evolved from that. And if you know evolution, like nothing has changed, it is just put on top of stuff. So it is still there in our core because it was a very, very basic mechanism that allowed our ancestral species to survive. And it's still there and you cannot get rid of it. Like it's hard coded into your being. So as Nödt is actually, in the end, his fear is exactly evoking these things. Like it puts you into this primal state of fear. You can't do anything with thinking. And Byakuya couldn't do anything with thinking. And Rukia couldn't do anything with thinking. And for Rukia, it was even worse because, as I said in the in the video about Rukia's Bankai, Rukia is highly prone to stimuli. So she's getting hammered with these stimuli that will induce fear, and that's basically Esnod's ability. Like, he's creating images like this. This is an image that will automatically activate one of these primal circuits in your brain, probably. Like, at least that's how I understood it. And you immediately get into this state of terror and fear, and you can't think anymore, and you just pray. And he instilled that in Rukia as well with this form. And Rukia, by having supraconductive nerves, just got effed by that as well. And that is why Esnod is so scary. It's like you cannot fight it by thinking. And that is his, like, he points that out as well. He says, like, you cannot, like, there is fear that you cannot escape. And he also shows the bugs that crawl on Byakuya. And it's like this basic primal fear of insects, because it's probably, and this is my interpretation, because insects or maggots are symbolizing death as well, and death is a very old fear. We will get into the fear of death as well, but he basically starts to instill these primal fears in people. So, but that is down the line. First, like his normal fear, like starts to let the surface crumble and lets these primal fear emotions bubble up, like, sporadically in fights. Like Byakuya, when he was like swinging around his sword, that was very primal. When Rukia rotted away, that was a very primal fear of losing your loved ones. But there was also this consciousness in it. Again, like, he thinks of Rukia, he tries to consciously think about her being safe, and then his primal fear eats that away. Like, it just beats this consciousness, because it's like the state is deeper than his consciousness. I love that so much. It's so brilliantly done. Yeah, so that is basically the fear in the normal form, and I've already talked a bit about Tartar Foras, but we will get into Tartar Foras now. So now we get to his Vollständig, which is, of course, Tartar Foras. Firstly, we might ask what that means, and Kubo says it means fear of God. But if you go to Latin, it actually might mean, and this is a bit interpretation, so Tartar might mean Tartarus, and he might have not known the ending particle of the Latin word, which is just Tartaros. Like, it's the Greek or Roman translation of the hell. Like, it's basically Hades in a way, I think. But it's the underworld. It's this river of the underworld where the dead are, and Foras means to bring out. And this means that his Vollständig also might mean bringing out the underworld of the dead, of the fear of death, which is what I think his Vollständig is about. And there are several reasons for me thinking this. So first of all, the fear of death is also a very primal fear. And it is probably one of the oldest, one of the strongest fears that might drive you. And he basically, like, he is that. Like, he embodies that. Like, look at him. Like, he has got like he looks like a corpse is like stitched up here, and he has this weird a weird other form in the end, where he's like this giant malformed corpse, and he uses these eyes against Rukia that are everywhere, and against Byakuya. And I like that as well, because the eyes are also one of these very primal stimuli that will cause fear in people. It's, I think, from predators. So being looked at is like your predator senses might go off. And this here is using that, in my opinion, as well. Like, he does not have pupils. So that makes him here be like, where is he looking? I don't know where he's looking. That is very eerie. He might look at me. Like that feeling. And also his Quincy cross is like a pupil, which means, to me at least, that this like predatory stare, like this ancient fear of death, of something that kills you, is what his eyes mean and what the eyes represent that he creates everywhere. And he, of course, we get the plot twist in the end, and I actually love that a lot. And unfortunately, in the anime, this got lost, in my opinion. Byakuya says the line, "What you see there, Rukia, is his own fear." And that is exactly what it is all about, I think. So we have to remember that the Schrifts are basically true nature, like made more prominent, and like the true nature of someone being their new power. And with Nödt, the true nature is that like he has at his core the fear of death. And in the anime, that does not come through. In the anime, he says the only hint we have is him saying the only thing I fear is being rebuked by His Majesty. I mean, that is a hint we get a bit, and we also see him in the hospital bed. But unfortunately, and I don't know why they cut the most important line in the manga. He says, "Oh God, I am so afraid of hell. I am so afraid of dying." Like those are his words in the hospital bed, and they cut that in the anime. And there's so much meaning in that because as Nödt, after almost, I don't know what happened. Perhaps he survived the Auswählen barely. Perhaps he got burned. Like his mouth is like all burned. We don't really know what happens. But in the manga, he's got a Bible next to him. So what he is all about is basically he's afraid of hell, of the Christian hell, most notably. And you see that in like these spikes and everything. Like it's a very Hellraiser esque design, and he is afraid of pain and torture and fear. And he also, like in a perverse way, tries to exude that on people. So he says to Byakuya, "I would have loved to make you suffer for eternity." And I think that's what I see that scene as he knows he does not know exactly what hell is, if that exists. Perhaps death is just nothingness, but he is afraid of the hell that he pictures, and he wants to bring that to the people, to other people, to like perhaps he thinks, yeah, if they get it, I don't get it. I don't know. Like on a subconscious level, of course, only. He's also pretty sadistic A-bag, so he might like use his fear to instill it in others. I think he wants to share his pain with people in a way. And yes, I love these Christian undertones here. I think with Esnert and with Ligebaro, they are the most prominent. We will get into a Ligebaro video down the line, perhaps. I don't know yet though, because there's a lot of angelic stuff with him. But him as well, like he's the the antithesis to angelic stuff. Like he is the embodiment of Christian hell, of like the spikes, the torture, the blood, the corpse, and his vollständig is also like means bring forth the underworld, and it is in Latin, which to me also makes it feel like he has this from the Bible in a way. He probably read up, like, okay, this is complete headcanon fan theory, so nothing to suggest this, but I would love to think that he was like, oh God, hell is so terrible. What do others say about it? He saw Tartarus is basically also something very terrible. And like it's just this idea, and like the Roman Greek mythology, where probably hell is based on a bit as well, because hell is like this central theme to many religions. Like that all bled into his true vollständig. So he is complete in hell, so to speak, which is like very, very scary. And yeah, I love that. I love his design. And something people pointed out as well, which I agree on, and I think that's a good hypothesis, that the people who are most devout to Yahweh, and you have to understand that he stands in for the Christian God, like, or the Jewish God, like YHWH. I've been over this in the German language video. You might check that out if you want me to talk about Yahweh. But basically, like because he's this devout believer in Yahweh, and he sees them as literal God who can save him from hell, and who even not only saves him from hell, but makes him be able to like put the hell he fears onto other people, so he doesn't have to live through it, but he can see others, and he can fight with it and bring this hell to other people. and he's such a devout believer that his Vollständig transforms him almost completely into this angel of death. Like I know it's fear of death, fear of God is officially the meaning, but he's basically the angel of death. The same way Little Baro is like another angel, which we will get into, but like this is literally the angel of death, and he is that in Tartar Foras because he brings forth the underworld. Like he's the guardian of the underworld of Hellraiser hell. Like he's basically Pinhead, and yeah, he wants to torture people. Like that's his thing. And what I really like as well is that like these eyes he has, like they look at Rukia, and Rukia like gets frozen, and her primal fear activates. And something interesting though is there is this thing, the last thing I want to talk about in psychology and neurology, like I covered these themes now a bit, but it is very central fight or flight response. So if you get this primal input, you are put into first a state of uncertainty, like it's like a limbo, and then you will decide what will you do. So you basically freeze up first, like this is this limbo, like you freeze up, like what's gonna happen? Orienting reflex is called. So you like what the frick is going on, and then you see the danger like that came in, and then two choices: run or fight. And with Byakuya, it was a bit of both. Like when he like swung the sword around, like he was fighting a bit, but in the end, he was just like he was done in by that. But Rukia wasn't. Like Rukia, I think almost fled. I had the impression when like the eyes came, like his complete dome of eyes came. She almost got mad, but in the end, when she attacks, she's like, "I'm gonna fight you now." And Byakuya manages to put some cognition back into Rukia so she can fight back. So basically, Rukia is in the state of primal fear that is like just making her react and not think straight. And Byakuya is there to like give her back her experience and make her understand herself as well. I discussed it in Rukia's video. And through that, she's able to overcome this primordial fear she has and is able to accept herself and uses herself, like her true nature, to fight this in a way. Like that's a bit poetic, I know, but that's basically what happens. And she uses her Bankai to end him, to freeze him. I'm in general not that sure if the normal fear he uses is more connected to cognition, and perhaps the Tartar Foras fear is a lot more primordial. But I think the primordial stuff is also already in his letter when he normally uses it. And in the end, he's afraid of death, and he's like, I am afraid, I am afraid. So there he dies. I'm a bit sad he was not around for longer, actually, but that is basically Nödt and what I think about him. And as I said, he's my third favorite Sternritter because he symbolizes so much cool horror stuff. And there are only two I like more. And yeah, like the anime nailed him. Like it was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. And the voice actor nailed him as well. I'm so sad they cut the Bible stuff and his fear of death. It got a bit shallow in the anime, but that's very nitpicky. And you saw my reaction as well. I loved him. I loved his anime stuff. Yeah. Anyway, that's it for the Nödt video, I guess. So this was a bit Spooktober video. I hope it wasn't too much all over the place because like there was not this one theme he had, but there were many little things he had. I hope I still made a bit of sense. And I hope you enjoyed this. Tell me what you want next. I don't know what I will do next. I will go back to normal schedule again. Like you've probably noticed, I did the Spooktober reactions. They will stop, of course, after Halloween. Then normal content will come back with Bleach and like some Bleach videos. I might do some ranking or I don't know, something fun. And also my One Piece and Wheel of Time stuff will come back as well. Anyway, oh yeah, and also as I said before, consider if you like horror, consider listening to Volume 1 of my horror series. Free audiobook. You can listen to it pinned in the comments as always. I just do that now all the time to spread it a bit, because I think it's a pretty well rounded volume 1, and it's pretty fun. Many layers in the stories if you pay attention. I think if like my writing was up to my to what I tried, at least. I don't know if it worked, but just, I don't know, tell me how it worked. And the new story is hopefully coming out like this or next week, which is my biggest one, and I think my best one. And it's the most horrific one as well. Anyway, I've talked about that a lot now. I just hope you are great. And as always, see you soon. Have a happy Halloween as well. And we'll be back one day with the next Bleach video. Let's go. Bye.